The pounding on my door hit like a thunderstorm at 7 a.m., so loud I nearly fumbled my coffee mug, still in my boxers, hair a total wreck, wondering, who's crazy enough to start my day like this? I yanked the blinds aside, and my jaw dropped. For wannabe enforcers in matching khaki outfits, sunglasses gleaming like they were starring in a cheesy cop show, glaring at my porch like it had insulted their grandma. The ringleader, a woman with a clipboard and a scowl that could peel paint, shouted, "James Carter, you're finished." Finished? I hadn't even downed my first sip, and these lunatics were already staging a siege. Get ready, because this ride's about to go off the rails. Before we get into the details, let me know in the comments where you are watching this video from. Like this post, and no cop will ever stop you for breaking the law again. So, picture this. I'm James Carter, Willow Creek's town marshal for 8 solid years, real badge, real grit, and zero patience for clowns like these. I faced down rowdy bar fights and chased speeders on Route 12. But this was a whole new level of nuts, and they had no idea who they were messing with. I flung the door open, coffee sloshing, and there she stood, Karen Davis, the HOA's self-crowned dictator. Around here, folks call her Karen, because, let's be real, it fits. She shoved a crumpled citation in my face, practically vibrating with glee. "You're in violation, James. Oversized mailbox, illegal lawn clutter," and she paused, smirking like she'd busted me wide open, disturbing the peace. I choked on a laugh. My mailbox? Stock standard from Home Depot. My lawn? One little gnome my niece, Katie, gave me for my birthday. Disturbing the peace? Unless my golden retriever buddy snoozing counts as a felony, she was out of her mind. "Karen," I said, dripping with sarcasm, "did I accidentally host a rock concert last night?" She puffed up like an angry hen, her crew bobbing their heads like a pack of yes-men. "The HO runs this neighborhood," she snapped, "and if you don't shape up, we're taking you in." Taking me in? I nearly spit my coffee across the porch. That's when I clocked her minion, some guy named Greg. Sweat stains blooming under his pits, fumbling with a pair of plastic handcuffs. Plastic. Like they'd swiped them from a kid's costume bin. "You're gonna arrest me with those?" I roared, laughing so hard my sides ached. On my own doorstep? Karen's face flushed brighter than a stoplight, but she jabbed a finger at me. "Step outside, now." Oh, she wanted a showdown? Fine by me. I slammed my mug down, snatched my wallet, and flipped it open, my marshal's badge flashing like a neon sign. The air went dead. Karen's smug grin melted faster than a popsicle in August. Greg dropped the handcuffs with a sad little thud. The other two, a woman clutching a cheap walkie-talkie and a guy with a notepad, staggered back like I just unleashed a lion. "Here's the deal," I growled, stepping forward. "You're playing cop right now, and that's a felony. So unless you want me calling the station to drag you all in, scat now." Pure silence. Karen's mouth flapped like a stranded trout before she croaked, "This isn't over, James," and hightailed it, her posse stumbling after her like a pack of spooked chickens. I stood there, pulse racing, adrenaline pumping, thinking, what in the fresh hell was that? If I'd known that was just the warm-up, I'd have chugged that coffee like my life depended on it. That afternoon, I was still reeling, wolfing down a bacon burger at Rusty's Grill. My deputy buddy, Mike, slid into the booth, grinning ear to ear. "Heard Karen tried to raid your place," he said, snagging a fry. "She's a loose cannon, man." I wiped grease off my chin. "Loose cannon?" "She's a 5-alarm fire. Came at me with plastic cuffs." Mike held. "Last week, she fined Mrs. Larson $100 for her porch swing being too creaky. She's got you in her crosshairs now. Back home, I thought she'd slink off to lick her wounds. Fat chance. Dust kit." And I stepped out with Buddy for his walk, only to stop dead. My trash cans? Poof. Not tipped, not rated, vanished. I spun around, and there she was, Karen, lurking across the street under a buzzing lamp, arms crossed, smirking like she'd just pulled off a heist. My blood turned to lava. This wasn't a petty jab anymore. This was war, and I was ready to bring the fight to her doorstep. The next morning hit me like a slap in the face, sirens blaring outside my window at 6:45 a.m., red and blue lights flashing through the blinds like a disco gone wrong. I bolted upright, heart hammering, thinking, what now, Karen? I stumbled to the front door, still in my pajama pants, and yanked it open to find 2 county cops standing on my porch, hands on their holsters, looking about as thrilled as I was. Across the street, there she was, Karen, arms folded, smirking like she'd just won the Super Bowl. My stomach churned. This wasn't a plastic handcuff stunt anymore. She'd gone full nuclear. "Morning," James, said Officer Daniels, a guy I've known since high school, good dude, hates paperwork. We got a call about a threatening individual at this address. Armed and dangerous, they said. I blinked, then laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Armed and dangerous? Daniels, the only thing I'm armed with right now is a half-empty coffee pot. He smirked, but his partner, Officer Ruiz, a younger guy with a no-nonsense vibe, stepped forward. Caller said they saw suspicious activity last night, someone waving a weapon around. You know anything about that? I shot a glare at Karen, who was now pretending to fuss with her mailbox. Yeah, I know exactly who called. And it's a load of bull. Daniels sighed, rubbing his temples. Look, man, we know you're the marshal, but we've got to check it out. Procedure. I nodded, stepping aside. Go ahead, waste your time. My weapon is probably Buddy's chew toy. They poked around for maybe 10 minutes, checked the living room, the kitchen, even peeked in the backyard where Buddy wagged his tail like they were his new best friends. Ruiz came back first, shrugging. Nothing here, boss. Daniels nodded toward Karen, who was now pacing her lawn like a caged tiger. Figured as much. She's been twitchy lately, called us last week about a rogue squirrel stealing her birdseed. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe as they packed up. So, what's the play? She gets a slap on the wrist for wasting your time. Daniels grimaced. We'll log it as a false report, but unless she keeps it up, not much sticks. I smirked. Oh, she'll keep it up. She's got a vendetta longer than a CVS receipt. They chuckled, tipped their hats, and rolled out, leaving me staring daggers at Karen. She caught my eye, flashed a triumphant little wave, and ducked inside. My fists clenched. She thought she'd won this round, but I wasn't about to let her skate. Meanwhile, over at the station, Mike was already on the case. I'd called him the second the cops left, pacing my kitchen like a caged animal. She's lost it, Mike, I said, voice tight. Called the county on me with some made-up story about a gun. He whistled through the phone. That's bold, even for her. What did Daniels say? I snorted. They knew it was garbage, but she's banking on wearing me down. Mike paused, then lowered his voice. Heard through the grapevine she's been bragging at the HOA meetings. Says she's got proof, you're a loose cannon. Might be cooking up something bigger. I grinned, a slow, dangerous smile. Let her try. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve too. Back home, I decided to hit the ground running. If Karen wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. I grabbed my laptop and started digging into the HOA bylaws. Hours of mind-numbing fine print, but worth it. Turns out, their authority to slap sanctions or calling cops was shaky at best. No legal teeth. Just a lot of hot air. I was halfway through drafting a complaint to the county when my phone buzzed, Tom again, sounding downright spooked. James, you've got to see this. Karen's got a crew outside your place right now. I bolted to the window, and sure enough, there they were. Greg, walkie-talkie lady, and a new guy with a tool belt, unloading a stack of orange cones and what looked like a no-parking sign from a pickup truck. Karen stood off to the side, barking orders like a drill sergeant. What the hell? I muttered, grabbing my jacket. I stormed outside, voice booming across the yard. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Karen spun around, clipboard in hand, grinning like a Cheshire cat. This is an HOA emergency measure, James. Your driveway's a safety hazard, effective immediately, it's closed. I laughed, loud and sharp, drawing a few curious stares from neighbors peeking out their windows. A safety hazard? Karen, this is my property. You've got no jurisdiction here. She waved her clipboard like a magic wand. We're protecting the community. You'll comply, or we'll escalate further. Greg started hammering a sign into my lawn, and I snapped. Touch one more blade of grass, and I'm calling the real cops again. He froze, hammer midair, and Karen's smirk faltered. She huffed, You're impossible, and signaled her crew to pack up, but not before tossing me a glare that could melt steel. I stood my ground, watching them retreat, adrenaline buzzing. This was getting personal, and I was loving every second of it. That night, I sat on my porch with Buddy, sipping a beer and replaying the day. Karen had pulled the cops on me, tried to barricade my driveway, and still thought she was untouchable. But I'd seen the cracks. Her crew hesitated, the cops weren't buying her act, and the neighbors were starting to whisper. Over at Rusty's, Jenny had texted me a heads up. Heard Karen's losing it, yelling at people in the diner about you. She's cracking. I grinned into the dark. She could bring the big guns all she wanted. I was ready to fire back, and this time, she'd feel the heat. The sun barely peeked over the horizon when I heard it, a low, rumbling growl rolling up my street like a storm brewing. I stumbled to the window, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and froze. A flatbed truck screeched to a stop right in front of my house, loaded with shovels, a mini excavator, and a crew of guys in neon vests hopping out like they were on a mission. My gut twisted. This wasn't cones or signs, this was heavy artillery. And there, directing traffic like a maestro of mayhem, stood Karen, arms waving, a triumphant grin splitting her face. She'd upgraded from petty pranks to full-on demolition mode, and I was about to find out why. I threw on a hoodie and bolted outside, barefoot on the cold grass, as one of the workers, a burly guy with a clipboard, turned to me. "Morning, sir," he said, "all business. We're here to dig up your front yard. Got a work order from the HOA. Says there's a busted pipe leaking into the community water line." I stared, jaw slack, then laughed, a wild, incredulous bark. "A busted pipe? In my yard? You've got to be kidding me." He flipped through his papers, unfazed. "Says right here, signed by Karen Davis, HOA president. We're starting in 10 unless you've got a court order stopping us." I spun toward Karen, who was now leaning against the truck, smirking like she'd just dropped the mic. "What's this, Karen?" I yelled, storming over. "You're tearing up my lawn over a fake leak now?" She shrugged, casual as can be. "It's a public safety issue, James. We've had complaints, water pressure's been off all week. Clearly, it's your fault." "My fault?" I'd been showering fine, my sprinklers worked, and Buddy's water bowl wasn't exactly running dry. This was a lie so bold it could have starred in its own movie, but she'd sold it to these guys hook, line, and sinker. I was about to rip into her when my phone buzzed. Mike, calling from the station. "James, you sitting down?" he said, voice tight. "Just got a tip from a buddy at County Records. Karen's not just HOA president, she's got a cousin on the planning board, some guy named Phil Grayson. Word is, she's been pulling strings to fast-track fake permits." I froze, the pieces clicking into place. "Permits? For what?" Mike chuckled, dark and low. "Get this, she's trying to rezone your block as community property. If she can prove your house is a hazard, she's pushing to seize it for an HOA clubhouse. It's insane, but she's got the paperwork moving." My blood ran cold, then boiled over. Karen wasn't just a nuisance, she was a schemer with a real estate power play, and I was the last domino standing in her way. I hung up, glaring at her as the crew fired up their excavator. "Call it off, Karen," I shouted, voice cutting through the rumble. "You've got no authority here." She laughed, sharp and smug. "Oh, I've got more than you think, James. This is bigger than you now." That's when I saw red, but I kept my cool. She wanted me to lose it, give her ammo. Instead, I spun back to the crew leader. "Hold up. I'm the town marshal. Check your orders with the county. I guarantee they're bogus." He hesitated, glancing at Karen, who waved her clipboard like a shield. "Do your job," she barked, but I could see the cracks. His crew slowed, muttering among themselves. I pulled out my phone, dialed Daniels at the station, and put it on speaker. "Daniels, got a crew here about to dig up my yard on a fake HOA order. Can you run it?" His voice crackled through. "Give me 5 minutes." The crew leader held up a hand, stopping the excavator, and Karen's face twisted into a snarl. "You can't stop this," she screeched, but I grinned. "Watch me." While Daniels dug into the records, I wasn't sitting idle. Back inside, I yanked open my laptop and fired off an email to the county planning office, CCing every official I knew. Years as marshal gave me a Rolodex of contacts. I attached photos of the truck, the crew, and Karen's smug face, labeling it HOA harassment, urgent. Then I called Tom, who answered on the first ring. "James, what's that noise?" "Sounds like a construction site." I gritted my teeth. "It's Karen. She's trying to bulldoze my yard with a fake permit." "Spread the word, Tom. I need eyes on this." He gasped. "On it, man, she's gone too far." 5 minutes later, Daniels called back, voice triumphant. "James, you're golden. No permit exists, county's got nothing on file. That order's a ghost." I marched back outside, where the crew was still stalled, Karen pacing like a caged animal. "Listen up," I boomed, holding up my phone. "County says your work order's fake. Pack it up, or you're all trespassing." The leader's eyes widened, and he turned to Karen. "Ma'am, we're done here." Her scream could have shattered glass. "You can't leave. I paid you." He shrugged. "Not my problem. Take it up with the law." As the truck rumbled away, Karen rounded on me, eyes blazing. "This isn't over, James. I've got connections." I stepped closer, voice low and steady. And I've got the truth. Keep pushing, Karen. I dare you. She stormed off, tires squealing as her crew scattered, and I stood there, pulse pounding, reeling from the twist. She wasn't just a petty tyrant. She was gunning for my home, and now I had proof. Over at Rusty's, Jenny texted me later. Heard Karen's ranting about you to anyone who'll listen. Says you're ruining her plans. What's she up to? I grinned into my beer. Whatever it was, I just turned her game upside down, and I was only getting started. The dust hadn't even settled from Karen's failed excavation stunt when I decided enough was enough. She'd come at me with fake cops, stolen trash cans, and now a full-on land grab. Time to stop playing defense. I woke up that next morning with fire in my veins, a plan brewing hotter than my coffee. Karen thought she could bully me out of my own home. Oh, she was about to learn what happens when you poke a marshal one too many times. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was payback, and I was going to dismantle her little HOA empire brick by brick. First move, hit her where it hurt. I'd already sniffed out her fake permit scheme, but now I had Mike's intel about her cousin Phil on the planning board. I grabbed my phone and called up Sarah Jennings, a no-nonsense reporter at the Willow Creek Gazette, who owed me a favor from a story I'd tipped her off on years back. Sarah, I said, pacing my kitchen, I've got a scoop that'll make your editor drool. The HOA president's rigging permits to steal property. Got proof and witnesses. She gasped, then laughed. James, you're kidding. Karen Davis? That's front-page gold. Gimme everything. I grinned. You'll have it by noon. While Sarah sharpened her pen, I wasn't sitting still. I drove down to the county office, badge gleaming, and marched straight to the records desk. The clerk, a nervous kid named Tim, blinked up at me. Marshal Carter, what's up? I leaned in, voice low. Need every HOA filing from the last 2 years, especially anything signed by Karen Davis or Phil Grayson. He scrambled, pulling files faster than a squirrel on espresso, and within an hour, I had a stack of papers thicker than a phone book. Buried in there? 3 forged permits, a dozen shady fines, and, jackpot, a memo from Phil greenlighting Karen's community property scam. Evidence in hand, I was ready to turn the screws. Back home, the neighborhood was buzzing. Tom had spread the word about Karen's yard invasion, and now porch lights were flickering on, folks whispering over fences. I caught Mrs. Larson, sweet old lady with the too creaky swing, watering her roses. James, she said, eyes wide. Is it true Karen tried to dig up your place? I nodded, grinning. Yep, and she's got bigger plans. But don't worry, I'm shutting her down. She clapped her hands. Good. She fined me $50 last month for my mailbox being too blue. Too blue. I laughed. Hang tight, Mrs. L. She's toast. Meanwhile, over at Rusty's Grill, the rumor mill was churning. Jenny flagged me down as I grabbed a burger to fuel my warpath. James, people are talking. Karen's losing it. Yelled at some guy here for not signing her petition against you. I smirked, biting into my food. Petition? She's scrambling. Good. Jenny leaned closer, whispering. Heard she's calling an emergency HOA meeting tonight. Gonna expose you. You going? I wiped ketchup off my chin, eyes gleaming. Oh, I wouldn't miss it for the world. That night, the community center was packed, neighbors crammed into folding chairs, Karen at the front with her clipboard, looking like a dictator on her last leg. I slipped in late, leaning against the back wall, arms crossed, as she launched into her tirade. James Carter's a threat to our way of life, she shrieked, waving a stack of papers. He's defied every rule, harassed our board, and now he's sabotaging our community vision. The room murmured, but I caught a few eye rolls. Her grip was slipping. She pointed at me, voice trembling with rage. You've got no place here, James. I stepped forward, slow and deliberate, my voice cutting through her rant like a blade. Funny you mention vision, Karen, because I've got some papers of my own. I held up the county files, letting the crowd see the official stamps. Forged permits, illegal fines, and a little scheme to turn my house into your clubhouse, courtesy of your cousin Phil. Gasps rippled through the room. Karen's face drained white, her clipboard shaking. That's nonsense, she stammered, but I wasn't done. County's investigating as we speak. And tomorrow, the Gazette's running a front-page story, HOA tyrant caught red-handed. Sleep tight, Karen. The room erupted. Neighbors shouting questions, some cheering, others glaring at Karen like she'd grown horns. She tried to yell over the chaos. "This is a setup," but no one was buying it. Greg and walkie-talkie lady slunk toward the exit, abandoning ship, while a guy in the front row, Mr. Peterson, the rusty truck victim, stood up, booming, "I say we vote her out right now." Cheers drowned out Karen's protests, and I watched, heart pounding with victory, as her empire crumbled in real time. She shot me a look of pure venom before storming out, but I just smiled. This wasn't just a win, it was a knockout. Later, kicking back with Buddy on my porch, I cracked open a beer, savoring the quiet. My phone buzzed. "Sarah, texting. Stories live tomorrow. You're a hero, James." I grinned, scratching Buddy's ears. Karen had swung hard, but I'd hit back harder. Over at the station, Mike was already digging deeper into Phil's records, promising more dirt by morning. The tide had turned, and I was riding the wave, ready to bury her HOA reign for good. The air felt lighter the next morning, like Willow Creek itself was exhaling after years of Karen's chokehold. I woke up to the smell of fresh coffee and a text from Sarah. "Check your porch. Paper's out. You're famous." I grinned, stepping outside with Buddy trotting behind me. And there it was, the Willow Creek Gazette, headline screaming, "HOA scandal exposed. President's power grab unraveled." My name was all over it. Hero Marshall takes down corrupt tyrant. I flipped through the pages, savoring every word, when my phone buzzed again. "Mike," voice crackling with glee. "James, you've got to see this. Karen's house is a circus. County auditors just rolled up." I bolted to the window, mug in hand, and sure enough, 2 county vans were parked across the street, suits with clipboards swarming Karen's lawn like ants on a picnic. She was out there, hair wild, yelling at a guy in a tie who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I couldn't hear her, but her flailing arms said it all. She was unraveling, and fast. I grabbed my jacket and headed out, not to gloat, okay, maybe a little, but to see the fallout up close. By the time I crossed the street, Mrs. Larson and Tom were already on their porches, watching the show with wide eyes and wider grins. "Morning, James," Tom called, waving. "Looks like your article lit a fire." I smirked, leaning against a tree. "Just fan the flames, Tom. She built the bonfire herself." That's when one of the auditors, a stern woman with glasses, spotted me. "Marshall Carter?" she asked, striding over. I nodded, bracing for whatever came next. "We're auditing the HOA's books. County got your complaint, plus a dozen others after that story broke. Looks like Ms. Davis has been skimming dues for years. You got anything else to add?" I handed her the stack of forged permits from the county files. "Start here. And check her cousin Phil Grayson. Planning board's in on it, too." She raised an eyebrow, then nodded. "Appreciate it. This is going to be a long day." Meanwhile, over at Rusty's Grill, the town was ablaze with chatter. I swung by for a quick bite, and Ginny practically tackled me with a hug. "James, you're a legend. Everyone's talking about the paper. Karen's toast." I laughed, sliding into a booth. "Not done yet, Jen. Just wait." She plopped down across from me, eyes sparkling. "Heard she tried to bribe the auditors with cookies this morning." "Cookies? Who does that?" I snorted into my coffee. "Desperate people. She's sinking, and she knows it." Back home, I wasn't letting up. I fired off emails to every neighbor I could think of, Tom, Mrs. Larson, Mr. Peterson, organizing an impromptu meeting at my place that night. If Karen's reign was crumbling, we'd rebuild the HOA ourselves, fair and square. By dusk, my living room was packed, 20 folks crammed in, sipping lemonade and buzzing with ideas. She fined me $75 for my dog barking once. Mr. Peterson growled, arms crossed. "And $200 for my truck, said it was an eyesore," added Tom. Mrs. Larson piped up. "My roses got me a $50 hit." She called them non-compliant. "We're done with her nonsense." I stood up, voice steady. "Then let's vote in a new board tonight. No more tyrants." The energy was electric. Nominations flew, hands shot up, and by 9 p.m., we'd elected Tom as president, Mrs. Larson as treasurer, and me as advisor. No power trips, just neighbors taking back control. I was scribbling the new rules, open meetings, no random fines, when my phone buzzed. Mike again. "James, jackpot." Phil's singing like a canary. Admits he fudged permits for Karen's clubhouse plan. County's pulling her financials now. She's cooked. I pumped my fist, grinning at the room. Hear that, folks? Karen's out of moves. Across the street, her lights were still on, but the vans were gone. I stepped outside with Buddy, catching a glimpse of her silhouette pacing behind the curtains, alone, frantic, a shadow of the dictator she'd been. The next day, the hammer dropped. Daniels called me at dawn, voice grim. James, we've got her. Auditors found $40,000 missing from HOA funds, parties, contractors, you name it. Plus, Phil's confession ties her to fraud. Warrant's out, she's getting picked up today. I whistled low. That fast? He chuckled. You lit the match, man. Whole town's behind you. Sure enough, by noon, the sirens came back, not for me this time. I watched from my porch as 2 squad cars rolled up to Karen's place, officers knocking hard. She opened the door, face pale, and tried to argue, her voice shrill, cutting through the quiet, but they weren't having it. Hands cuffed behind her back, she shot me one last glare as they led her to the car, her reign ending in a perp walk for the ages. Neighbors cheered from their yards, Mr. Peterson hollering, good riddance. I raised my coffee mug in a mock toast, heart pounding with a mix of relief and triumph. Her empire was dust, and we'd swept it away. That night, I sat with Buddy, the street peaceful for the first time in months. Over at Rusty's, Jenny texted, town's throwing a party tomorrow. Your win's the talk of Willow Creek. I grinned, scratching Buddy's ears. Karen had swung hard, but I'd swung harder, and now, with her gone, we'd taken back our home. One last move to seal the deal, and I'd sleep like a king. The sun rose over Willow Creek like it was celebrating with me, golden light spilling across a street that finally felt free. Karen's arrest the day before had been the knockout punch, but I wasn't done swinging. Her corrupt HOA was a rotting husk, and I was hell-bent on burying it for good. I stood on my porch, coffee steaming in my hand, Buddy snoozing at my feet, and watched her for sale sign go up across the street, crooked, rushed, a final jab of irony. She'd fled town overnight, tail between her legs, and I couldn't stop grinning. This wasn't just my win, it was ours, and we were about to rewrite the rules. First thing that morning, I called the new HOA board, Tom, Mrs. Larson, and a handful of neighbors who'd stepped up into action. We met at my place, papers strewn across the kitchen table, fueled by donuts and determination. No more fines for dumb stuff, Tom said, scribbling notes. No 2 blue mailboxes or creaky swings. Mrs. Larson nodded, her eyes fierce. And no secret funds, every penny's accounted for. I leaned back, arms crossed. Open meetings, majority votes, and 0 power trips. We're here to live, not to grovel. By noon, we drafted a new charter, short, sweet, and fair, then filed it with the county, wiping Karen's reign off the books like a bad dream. Meanwhile, over at Rusty's Grill, the town was throwing an impromptu victory bash. I walked into cheers, Jenny waving me over, Mike clapping me on the back, even old Mr. Peterson raising a milkshake in salute. James, you're the man. Jenny hollered, sliding me a burger on the house. Karen's gone, and people are saying you saved Willow Creek. I laughed, digging in. We saved it, took all of us to kick her out. Mike grinned, leaning in. County seizing her assets to repay the $40,000 she stole. Phil's facing charges too, whole family's toast. I clinked my soda against his. Couldn't happen to nicer folks. Back home, the real work kicked in. With Karen's scam exposed, the county dissolved the old HOA entirely, too tainted to salvage. Our new board took over, and that afternoon, we held our first open meeting in the park. 50 neighbors showed up, kids running around, dogs barking, a far cry from Karen's stuffy reign of terror. I stood on a picnic table, megaphone in hand, voice booming. No more nonsense rules. You park where you want, paint what you like, plant whatever, your house, your call. Cheers erupted, louder than a football game, and I felt it, pride, relief, a rush of pure joy. We voted then and there. No dues unless it's for something we all agree on, like fixing the playground. Simple. Done. That evening, I got a call from Sarah at the Gazette. James, follow-up stories live tomorrow. Willow Creek rises. Marshall leads neighborhood revolt. You're a legend now. I chuckled, scratching Buddy's ears as he sprawled on the couch. Just a guy who got fed up, Sarah. Tell the real story, the neighbors who stood up. She laughed. Oh, I will. But you're the spark, my friend. Hanging up, I stepped outside, the street quiet except for crickets and the occasional laugh from a porch. Karen's house sat dark, empty, a ghost of her tyranny. I'd heard she'd moved 3 counties over, probably plotting her next takeover, But here, she was history. The next day sealed it. County officials swung by, dropping off a check for $40,000, restitution for every fine and fee Karen's HOA had squeezed out of us. We split it fair, $200 back to each household, the rest for a community fund. Mrs. Larson hugged me, teary-eyed. My roses are safe now, James. Tom slapped my shoulder. You're stuck with us, man. Best advisor we've got. I grinned, chest tight with something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. No more cones, no more fake cops, just a neighborhood breathing easy, ours again. Sitting on my porch that night, beer in hand, Buddy snoring beside me, I watched the stars pop out over Willow Creek. Karen had swung her worst, cuffs, cops, bulldozers, and we'd crushed her. Her empire was rubble, her rules erased, her name a punchline at Rusty's. I'd fought for my home, but we'd won back a whole town. The for sale sign across the street swayed in the breeze, a trophy of our triumph, and I raised my bottle to it. Good riddance, Karen. Don't come back. Hey, you stuck with me on this wild ride. That means a lot. Leave a quick comment below. What's the craziest HOA story you or someone you know has ever had? And if you enjoyed watching Karen fall as much as I enjoyed living it, hit that subscribe button so you know how to handle similar situations. Let's keep the good fights going together.